Welcome back to Pillar 3, Needs and Boundaries. I've got my iced latte cooking right now, and it's decaf because it's in the afternoon, but I'm really excited to dive into needs and boundaries because, I would say that most of the population is walking around unclear on what their personal needs are. They're unclear on their relationship needs. And we tend to be people pleasers naturally, just due to issues with how our parents, didn't look after us in a way. Like we grew up in this people pleasing type of environment where we want to please, and we're really scared that we're going to lose love if we set boundaries, if we own our needs. So we're going to be diving into all of that in this section: needs, boundaries, people pleasing. How do we break those patterns of people pleasing and really own what it is that we want? So let's start with needs. In order to understand, we can't set boundaries if we don't really, we can't set boundaries if we're not fully clear on our values and our needs and what we actually want. And I want to break up the needs into a couple different areas. So you have nervous system needs. Maybe these are more personal. You have nervous system needs. You have relationship needs. You have sexual needs. And within those, it's really important to write those down: nervous system, relationship, and sexual needs. And I remember the first time going through this process of, what do I actually need? Because there's a big difference between what we want, what we think we should need, and what we actually need. But a good example of this would be, let's use the morning routine for an example, right? People are everybody needs to have a morning routine dialed. You need to do your cold plunge, your cold shower, your meditation, your breath work, all that stuff, right? But it's well, is that what I need to feel calm, regulated, and clear in the morning? I don't know. Maybe you're out there and you're cold plunging makes me feel cold and shivery the rest of the morning, and it throws me off of work, or it activates my nervous system in a specific way. So it's kind of a weak example, but your needs are highly specific to you. What I need is different than what you need. What's different than our partners and the whole world. When it comes to needs, there isn't one size fits all. So what I would recommend you do is, this is a very tactical one. Write down emotional, or I guess you could even write down emotional, but you have emotional, nervous system, sexual needs, relationship needs. So these are needs that you need met by your partner, and start to really sit with that, right? When you're thinking about your nervous system needs, what do I need to feel calm and regulated on a daily basis? What do I need? How do I have to set my life up in a way where I get that need met? Maybe it's you only drink 2 coffees. Maybe that is what you need in order to keep a regulated nervous system. Maybe you need a daily walk. Maybe you need a moment of silence where there's no demands from the world, your business, your partner, your animals, whatever it might be. But you need to get crystal clear on what is it I actually need. Maybe you need more alone time than you're giving yourself. Maybe you need more social interaction to feel alive, to feel fulfilled, to feel connected. What do you need from a nutrition standpoint? Some people need more food, less food. Some people need to eat more frequently. What do I need? Think about needs from it's a necessity. If I don't get this need met in myself, then I'm going to be dysregulated in my nervous system. Going back to pillar 1, right? Nervous system first, everything else second. Moving on to, emotional needs, right? What do you need to be emotionally clear, stable, understood? Maybe you need to vent to a friend once a week. Maybe you need to vent to a therapist, or work with a coach, or be in some sort of a group, right? I'm in men's groups. I run them, right? There's women's circles, there's women groups, all those types of things. What do you need emotionally in order to stay stable? Maybe you need a check-in with a friend. Maybe you need a massage. Maybe you need to run a specific amount of times per week. But these aren't wants. These aren't desires. These are I need this. This is a nervous system need. This is a baseline emotional need. If I don't do this, then I'm not going to be setting myself up for success. Right? So then you get sexual needs. What are your sexual needs? Maybe it's frequency. Maybe it's a certain type of sex. Maybe it's a certain type of intimacy that you require. Maybe it's like once a week and we need to have some sort of a date night that leads to that type of intimacy. Maybe it's the opposite. Maybe you just need the open invitation and then see where it goes. Maybe you need there to be no pressure. Maybe you need to have fucking wild sex. Everybody's nervous system is different. Everybody has different needs in this realm. So it's important to understand potentially like what are your needs, and then, you get to identify whether or not these are being met in the relationship. But it's also not just with your partner, like within yourself, right? Like what's your own relationship to your own sexual body, to your own, personal practice, for lack of a better word. So these are all under the exploration of needs, right? We got sexual, emotional, what did I say? Nervous system, and sexual, emotional, nervous system, relationship. Right. I was like, what? Wait a second. Yeah, we're in the relationship section. Why are we? So anyways, so what I recommend you do is write those 4 pieces down on a journal and start to go through and figure out, make some notes, make some lists. And I remember the first time doing this, I just stared at the screen, or I stared at the notepad, and I was just like, man, like, I don't know what I need from my partner. Like, I was like, respect. Like, yeah, absolutely. Like, you need respect, or I need respect. But I started exploring that, and I noticed that like physical touch, or like some sort of like hands on the shoulders, or she'd rub her hand in my chest, like that really calmed me down. That regulated my nervous system. And I didn't know until I started trying things out, right? The reason that, you can have a pretty dialed fitness and health and nervous system routine and still be tired and still be fatigued is because when you treat your needs like a checklist, you're just checking off things that somebody else told you should do, where like needs are the things that actually work for you. One of my mentors, he found out that one of the ways that he really found, like he relaxes at the end of the day, is he rubs like a pure almond oil all over his feet and in between his toes. And he has this beautiful practice at the end of the day where he just like massages his own feet. And it's a really soothing thing for him. He gets in bed and he feels really calm, really grounded, and he has a really good night's sleep. That's not on the list of biohacking your way to a calm nervous system. But he went down in exploration, right? I went down in exploration. You just start trying shit out. It's kind of the whole fuck around and find out, right? Like start to figure out maybe a hot bath works for you. Maybe laying on the floor in silence. Maybe you need to go hang out with friends, like go get some fresh air, like whatever it is. Like there is no framework to needs, but the whole point is that it's highly individualized and your needs are your responsibility. This is a big one that we all miss, right? We don't really put in a lot of effort and then we expect our needs to get met, either like by the world, by our partners. And what ends up happening is like, if you haven't communicated a need to a partner, like let's just say you know what a need is and you haven't communicated it, that's not their fault that they're not meeting that. Right? Like we need to get to, if there's something that we need met, we have to ask for it. We have to create it, but we can't we can expect our partners to meet them. But at first, when you're just learning what it is, you need to like actually communicate and say, hey, like I need you to, do this thing, or I need this from you once a week, or I need daily connection with you, or before, when we have sex, I need this to happen. Like it doesn't really matter. You just need to figure out what it is that you need in all of these different buckets. So then you can start asking for them. Okay, so that is in a nutshell. I can't really get too much deeper into needs. Like this is a personal exploration for you. And I guess one question that might be arising in your brain is like, well, what happens if our partners can't meet that? Well, it becomes a different conversation, right? Obviously, you can't expect that they're going to get met like 100% of the time. But that's where the conversations need to happen, right? Repair conversations need to happen. Nervous systems need to be regulated so that you can be communicating in a way that is highly effective and highly productive, rather than just like, you don't meet my fucking needs, right? Like both people are just bitching and complaining about the other person. It's like, no, you got to own it and you got to ask for it, and make it crystal clear that, hey, in order for us to be successful, like this is what I need. Okay. Delicious. I don't edit these videos, by the way, so we're keeping this raw. And if you don't like it, well, you know where to close the tab. All right. Boundaries. Oof. This one's going to be hard for a lot of you because this one's hard for pretty much everybody because nobody taught us how to set boundaries. But one of the most important things that you need to do as an adult, as a partner in a relationship or not, is you need to learn how to set a boundary. And in order to learn how to set a boundary, you need to know what your boundaries are. Let me give you an example. Let's use holding space as an example in a relationship. Let's just say a man is holding space for a partner when she's upset. There are teachers out there that believe that he should be able to withhold like the entire wave and chaos of a feminine storm. Like she's upset, she can say everything she wants. You can't tame her expression and her level of emotions. I disagree, and the teachers that I worked with also disagree. An example could be, okay, I can take all of it, or I can hold all of it for you. I can hold space for you as long as it doesn't get personal. Like so you're setting that boundary is that, hey, I'm willing to hold space for pretty much everything, but if things get personal, like I'm a no to that. Or when you start saying this thing about my parent, like, oh, you're acting like your father, or you're acting like your mother, like getting into those personal judgment-ish statements, that is where you can set a boundary and say, hey, when we're in an argument, my boundary is that things don't get personal. Or one thing that I know is common is that when we get in an argument, like the second you start yelling, like we need to take an hour, like my boundary is that I'm happy to have a conversation, but we're not going to be yelling at each other. Like I don't want to yell in this relationship. So you could say, great, like let's come back, let's separate, let's meet in an hour and have that conversation. You can set boundaries in the workplace as well, or like you can tell people, like my boundary is that you don't email me at 6 o'clock in the morning. Like I'm not going to respond. And I mean, and in regards to, more in the work realm, like it's one of those things too, where like your boundaries are your own. Like you get to just not reply until 8 o'clock in the morning. Like you don't even have to communicate that. Like you can also just own your own boundary. But boundaries are really hard, especially when you're looking into family dynamics. Now, I know we're not really working in that realm of family. We're talking about boundaries in a more of an intimate relationship setting. But it's really, really crystal clear that in order to set a boundary, like you have to know what the boundary is that you're setting. So again, this is a journaling practice, like writing down, like when you're in an argument, like what are you a yes to? What are you a no to? In relationships, like maybe your partner wants to spend 7 days a week with you for 3 hours a day. And you're like, I can't do that. Like I'm a no to that. Like that doesn't work for me. But this is really hard because when the fear is that if we set a boundary, if we say no, right? Two things tend to happen. We either say no and try to justify, right? Rather than just like, hey, sorry, I can't, or I'm not able to, right? Like no is a full sentence. No is a complete sentence. But what ends up happening is we get scared that they're going to like be upset. So we say yes, we do the thing, we blow past our own boundaries, we blow past our own needs, we self-sabotage ourselves in the pursuit of saying yes to someone or, doing something that we don't want to do. And that's where boundaries are really effective. Like we need to teach people how to treat us. Otherwise, they will just walk all over us. They will continue asking, we'll continue saying yes, we'll get upset, we'll be resentful, and then cycle just goes on. But the thing about boundaries is that like you're saying no anyways, but you're saying no to yourself rather than saying no to the other person. And people pleasing is vicious because it's actually a form of manipulation. Like when you really identify the fact that like I'm only saying yes because I don't want to lose love is a way that you're trying to control reality through fear. And you're not actually doing it because you want to do it. You're doing it because you don't want to lose love. You don't want to disappoint. You don't want to upset that other person. But the other person thinks you're doing it because you want to or because you're into that. So the best thing to do is to just like stand firm and like if someone's like, hey, my partner's like, hey, do you want to go on this hike or do you want to do this thing? So be like, no, I'm sorry. Like I'm feeling really tired. I'm going to stay here and lay down and watch a show. And your partner might get upset and that's okay. Like they'll get over it, but like you don't have to just say yes all the time because you're scared that, they're going to get upset with you. You have to be okay. Like part of setting boundaries and part of ditching the people pleaser is that you're going to piss somebody off sometimes. You're going to disappoint. But you have to remember that them getting upset at you setting a boundary is their shit, their work, not yours. right? We have to be able to learn how to say no. And the more we learn to say no, the less scary it feels, right? We're like, oh my God, I set a boundary and I didn't die. They don't hate me. And you start to build that proof and experience of like, oh, I'm setting boundaries and things are going okay. And people respect them, right? Or they try to respect them. And it's actually really admirable when you're like, hey, I'm a no to this. That person's like, wow, like, yeah, you're really clear on who you are and what you want and what you're a yes to and what you're a no to. So, I mean, a really good practice that you could do is pull out a blank piece of paper and write down three columns, like hell yes, hell no, and then like a middle column. And you write down, these are all the things I'm a hell yes to in my life. These are all the things I'm a hell no to in my life. And then there's a middle category where you're like not really sure. And it's like, what would have to happen to move that into a hell yes? And this is just a general practice, not just for relationship stuff, but just life. Client work tends to be just business owner. This tends to be an easy example on the tip of my tongue, but maybe it's like, oh, I don't want to do, let's use video production as an example. I don't want to work with this type of client anymore, right? Or I'm a maybe to working with real estate agents, or I'm a maybe to working with a specific type of niche. Okay, great. What would take it to a hell yes? Okay, well, if I double the price, I'll work for a realtor. Or if I double the price, I'll work for a dentistry office or whatever. So you have the ability to get crystal clear on like what you're a yes to, what you're a no to, what your needs are, how to communicate those needs. And this is really, really important, right? This is one of like, I mean, all of the stuff in this course is important, as you can see, but this section, pillar 3 around needs and boundaries, is 100% around clarity. Like you can't set a boundary if you don't know what you're setting the boundary for. You can't ask for a need that you haven't quite identified yet or explored, right? Or maybe you have the need and you haven't communicated it and your partner's sitting over there being like, I don't know why he's so mad all the time, or I don't know why she's upset. Well, it's like, well, have you communicated that you need a specific thing? No. All right. Well, your partner's not a mind reader. It'd be great if we could be mind readers, but it's somehow in evolution, mind reading never made it into the, anyways, we digress. So I hope that's really helpful. Journal on your needs, figure them all out, journal on like what you're a yes to, what you're a no to, and then start setting boundaries, start communicating your needs, practice saying no. I've had a teacher prescribe this practice where it's like, how many no's can you collect in the next 30 days? Like practice saying no to people and practice not justifying it. Hey, can you come over and do this thing? Or can you go out on Saturday with me and my friends? Hey, sorry, I can't. Not, hey, sorry, I can't because da 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 da. Just, hey, sorry, I'm not available. And then sit with that discomfort. Be like, oh, they're going to get upset. It's like, no. And also maybe, but them getting upset, that's just you trying to manage their emotions. If you're just saying yes because you don't want them to get upset, that's you trying to manage their emotions, and their emotions are not your responsibility. Your emotions are your responsibility. And just think about, when you blow past your own boundaries, you're going to get resentful, but you're going to be resentful with yourself rather than. So anyway, so that concludes pillar 3 on needs and boundaries. If you have any questions, drop a chat or drop a comment down in the description. Sorry, the comment section. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. You can always DM me on Instagram, hit me up, book a call, do the things that you got to do. Like I work with men and couples in this realm professionally full time. So I'm very familiar with helping people navigate, their needs and boundaries. So I know this piece is really tricky for a lot of people. So pillar 3, needs and boundaries, get to it, get journaling and get communicating. And I look forward to seeing you in pillar 4.